So the Switch 2 might actually end up being a lot more expensive than people were initially thinking. And that's kind of crazy because people were already complaining about the price both of the console and of the games. What's up guys, Nintendo Jab here, back with a brand new video. And yeah, it's been kind of crazy the last couple of days since the Switch 2 was revealed at that Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. There's been a lot of controversies, specifically in regards to pricing for the console, for the games and stuff. But some information that came out actually the same day of that Direct kind of makes it seem like Nintendo might actually be doing a price hike instead of a price reduction to the Nintendo Switch 2. So here we're going to be looking at a couple of articles and tweets. Here, this article here is from The Verge, of course, and it says Nintendo is delaying the Switch 2 pre-orders or over tariff concerns. So yeah, this is basically the post that they are referring to. It was from the official GameStop Twitter account, where they basically shared an update from Nintendo themselves. Nintendo basically said pre-orders for the Nintendo Switch 2 in the US will not start on April 9th, 2025 in order to assess the potential impact of tariffs and evolving market conditions. Nintendo will update timing at a later date. The launch date of June 5th, 2025 is still unchanged. So basically, for those that don't know what Nintendo is talking about when it comes to tariffs and all that stuff, yeah, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, basically announced a 46% tariff for products coming out of Vietnam, which is where Nintendo is manufacturing the Nintendo Switch 2. What this would basically mean is that the Nintendo Switch 2 would now cost a significant more amount of money to actually import that to the United States and sell it here. We already know, of course, that Nintendo has announced previously that the Nintendo Switch 2 is coming out at 450 US dollars. However, this 46% tariff for products coming out of Vietnam that we have seen, the president of the United States announce, this would make that $450 price point pretty much not doable for Nintendo. It would be cutting into their profit margin pretty significantly. This isn't really just like, speculation or like just theorizing or anything either. Obviously, Nintendo announcing that they are delaying the pre-order process and they don't have a day as to when we can actually pre-order it. That's them basically directly saying like, yeah, this stuff is going to affect us. And they're not letting people pre-order at $450 because more likely than not, they might end up having to sell the Switch 2 for more than that. So the whole point of them stopping the pre-order process for the Switch 2 at $450 is basically them stopping anyone from being able to buy it before they potentially do a price increase. Now, it's not entirely certain as to how much the Nintendo Switch 2 actually costs Nintendo to both produce and then obviously ship it to the destination countries. I've seen numbers thrown out somewhere around the $300 to $340 range. So basically, to see how much this would now cost Nintendo, you would basically take 46% of whatever it is it costs them to actually make, in this case around $300 to $340, and that would be added onto Nintendo's overall cost to make and ship a Nintendo Switch 2. This would easily put the console price, again, in terms of the actual production and shipping to the United States, this would easily put it at over $400. So this is why they're canceling these pre-orders, because at over 400 bucks and then selling it at 450, there's basically no profit for Nintendo to really make there, or very little profit. You also have to remember that retailers are obviously going to want to make profit on the console too. So it's basically just not going to be doable at the $450 price range. So if these tariffs do actually take into effect and nothing is done by them, I could very easily see the Nintendo Switch 2 becoming more expensive instead of less expensive, which is what people have been hoping for since the release of the Switch 2. Now, I guess there is some type of hope that this isn't going to necessarily happen. There is a new update from the President of the United States basically saying that he had a very productive phone call with To Lam, General Secretary of the Communist Party of Vietnam, who told me that Vietnam wants to cut their tariffs down to zero if they are able to make an agreement with the US. So basically kind of negotiating to get that 46% tariff either lowered or even removed. We don't obviously have details on that just yet, but hopefully something does happen where this doesn't actually take into effect. Right now, it's very unclear as to whether or not, Nintendo is going to increase the price of the Switch 2. Are they just going to try to wait it out and hope that these tariffs don't take into effect so that they can sell the console at $450 and $500 for that Mario Kart bundle? Or if things don't get any better, if there is no real negotiation to be had, or if the number still stays pretty high, it's maybe not 46, but maybe 30, maybe 25, who knows? Nintendo will basically have no real choice and will have to increase the price in order to not cut into their profits and in order to not cut into the profits of retailers who will be selling the Switch to as well. But yeah, so far not looking good for Nintendo fans who were planning on buying a Switch 2 for only 450. We might end up having to pay more than 500 bucks for the thing. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. And with all that being said, though, thank you for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.